Madison city officials are exploring turning part of an iconic street into a pedestrian-only road.
The road in question is State Street. A city planner thinks the move will bring even more people to the shops.
NBC 15's Marcus Arsvold joins us now. And Marcus, you spoke to a local business about the idea, and they have a concern.
Right now, the section of State Street in question allows city buses, EMS, and delivery vehicles, but not regular traffic. A restaurant worker I spoke with doesn't think limiting traffic to foot and bike would change much, but they are worried about how they'll get their products to and from their eatery.
I feel like it would have maybe put an issue on delivering product for the restaurants that are in these blocks.
Fernando Vasquez works for Sunroom Cafe and says converting to pedestrian only could be problematic for their delivery services.
I think other than that, I don't see an issue with it.
College students on foot are their main clients anyway, so Vasquez thinks taking away other vehicles wouldn't impact their business much.
It's mostly people walking during the weekends and especially football season. Yeah, the street is crazy. People are walking on the street and everything. You can see it's just packed with people out here.
This part of State Street is already closed off to personal cars, but before the city closes the street to delivery and emergency vehicles, they've got a lot to consider.
What can we do given the knowns of emergency access, deliveries for businesses, accessible access to all of our residents?
Buses will stop driving on this part of State Street in June.
This is the first time that buses haven't been on the lower half, and I think people are excited about exploring what that could mean.
The city only discussed the possibility of looking into this project tonight. Next, they'll need to draft a proposal, design, and take it to Common Council. Live in the studio, Marcus Arsvold, NBC 15 News.